Challenges. There always seems to be challenges in real estate.
There are, and often they're actually opportunities in disguise.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward together with the Dekker Team.
We are grateful that for over 35 years, we've been able to come alongside you, selling, buying, and investing in real estate over 3,117 times. And more than that, coming alongside you to build your fund, build your faith, build your finances, and even strengthen, heal, and flourish inside relationship. Care is with us from CHRI. As you've been listening to segment A and B, you've heard that she's here, and she is... Yeah, we're on the hot seat. I think on the first one you said you were, and I thought, you got that all wrong, girl.
I love to interview people. I love to get to know people. And I mean, I've known you guys for many years, but I feel like I'm gaining a lot of wisdom and insight through this conversation. So can we continue on this?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
We've been talking in the previous segments a little bit about emotion. And I think the challenges is part of that kind of builds up emotion. It's hard. I mean, no one can do this on their own. I mean, people do try to sell houses by themselves, but there's challenges that having one of you there is going to help with.
Or sometimes both of us, because that's actually kind of, and we weren't going to talk about this. And yet I think it's important that you know that just because you may always see me, or you may always see Ken, or always see Candace, or always see Ryan, because we attempt to give as much consistent care, or one of our other team members, the reality is anytime there's a big challenge, a problem, we know who has the most expertise on the team in solving that thing. And when it's a linear or even not linear and out of the box thinking problem solving thing, all of us will call Ken. His phone rings off the hook from all of us because he's like, when he had his assessments done quite a few years ago around problem solving ability, the woman said, I've never met anybody that is high on the chart as you are in that. So when you know the strength, you can actually take that problem and turn it into an opportunity.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's him, sometimes it's someone else, but he's that sweet spot if we're stuck.
Okay, so Ken, what's her strength?
Oh, she's the strongest negotiator. So if I'm struggling with getting a house for somebody or getting the most amount of money, then I'll turn to Yetta and I'll go, okay, what should I be doing here? Or sometimes I just pass it over to her and let her do it.
Yeah. So why is it so important for you guys to be able to really overcome these struggles and to be able to say, hey, this is what I'm good at. We're going to help you with this. Like, why is that important?
Well, I think it's because our listener, our client, they're valuable to us. And because we're relational, we want to keep that relationship whole, and we want to do our absolute best. And if as a team, God put us together, we became one, but as a team, we're stronger. We're stronger than each other individually. And so that's why it's so important to us that we were able to help.
I love it. I love your dynamic. Can you share a story, though, maybe of overcoming a struggle and what kind of came from that? Because I feel like, again, that's why we would call you. It's like, okay, help. I don't know if this is even possible.
Well, and even sometimes people realize that the problem is a stop. They don't realize it's a pause. They've identified. So I'm thinking of one client in particular.
They think it's a period, but it's actually a comma.
It's just a comma, but they think it's a period. So they said, we're going to have to give up looking for that house now. We want that house. That is our house. We've been looking for a long time. That's our house. And the challenge we had was the seller and the listing agent were not willing to consider a first refusal.
First refusal means conditional on sale of someone's home.
Right. And we went back with, I don't know how many offers, and we weren't making any way whatsoever. And there was no way to shift their perspective because it wasn't up to us. It was up to the other realtor. And we couldn't shift his perspective, which means he couldn't shift their perspective. And so the client said, we're going to have to abandon ship. Like, this is a stop. This is a period. And I said, well, who have you talked to? Well, I've talked to my bank. And I said, okay. I said, go talk to them again with this piece of information. I had some knowledge that I could pass on, and I knew their career situation. I knew their stability. I knew a lot about them, and they should have been able to get approval even without selling their home.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're not in duress doing it, then sometimes that's a great option. And so they went back and they got the answer no again.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, have you ever talked to a mortgage specialist? Not that is affiliated with a particular bank, but a mortgage specialist. And they go, no. And I said, okay, I'm going to set up an introduction. I have somebody that specializes in exactly what I think this is. And she can access many more lenders. And then at least you'll have the data.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know whether or not it is a stop or if it's just a comma. You know, is it a pause or is it a dead on, we're not leaving this traffic light? And so they did. And happy to say they're in their house and they love it. And we were actually able to sell their home before they needed to move anyway. But we needed the backup to know that if they couldn't, they were still not going to be in a legal situation, right? Because that's our job, is to avoid those potential big challenges that aren't surmountable.
That's why we trust you.
Yeah. And even that home that they bought, we did the home inspection and there were several problems. Several, I'm saying several. There were many problems.
More than I would have anticipated.
And yet we were able to, because of our relationship with the agent on the other side, say what was reasonable for our client to move ahead, remove their inspection conditions, and firm up on the house. And his people really wanted another house. So we knew the motivation on the other side for them to sell. And we were able to get a whole list, a litany of lists of things that the seller was willing to do. And so we solved those problems because it was almost like, oh, did we buy this house? It's got way more problems than we thought it would have. And one of those was underground wire to the dock, right?
Yeah, electrical.
And we said, there's a lot of electrical issues. We would like you to get an ESA certificate. And the seller said, fine. So there was a bunch of things in the house, little things. But then it showed that the wire going out to the dock, which was a long ways away, was not properly buried. And then the agent called you and said, what?
Well, what should we do? And I said, we should fix it.
Yeah.
He goes, but it's going to be like $15,000. And I said, I hear you and I'm disappointed for your client. And it's a fire risk. It's a safety issue. It really is something they're going to have to address, whether they sell the home to my client or not. Yeah. And at this point, you've already agreed to do it. So, you know, it's a hard pill to swallow, but go ahead and accomplish the task you agreed to do, which they did. And the neat part with that one is I sold that home 30 some years ago for one of our other clients.
What?
So, but it didn't look at all the same because it had a major addition on the back. It was completely like, I'm standing there going, I know this is where I was. I know this is how, when it was, And yet they had done major renovations to it to the point that it wasn't recognizable as the same house.
Yeah. Wow.
But it needed, so anyway, just being willing to, sometimes push when it's hard.
Yeah. Go a little extra. Okay. I love this. Can we do this again next week?
Absolutely.
I'm going to pick your brain a bit more.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, Care.
Okay. So if you have real estate challenges and they're holding you back, call us to discuss what might be the winning solution for you. 613-867-6058. And we're so glad that you joined us on Life's Inside Track, because when we move together we've got this.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward together with the Dekker Team.